Hey, beautiful people. What's going on? Good morning. It's your girl, Neo Soul recording artist Lahla-Hadiya, back to start our week of Morning Tea with Mommy. Y'all know the drill. Let me see those thumbs up, those hearts, those happy faces. Let me know you guys are good. Y'all ready to get the day started? So this topic today is not that hard. You just got to put your thinking caps on a little bit. Um and let's talk about it. Um That real quick, all those who were supposed to send in their pictures or their shout outs for all those graduates that they had in their families, whether they be young or old, it officially closed out this past Friday. However, um, I was able to persuade the techie to extend it to the end of today. So the end of today is the absolute last day to email me, inbox me your shout outs, your pictures for all those graduates in your family that you want to shout out for this coming Friday. That's it. All right, let's get into the topic. The topic today is, are you more worried about doing things right or doing the right things? I got my heavy thinkers up in here, so this should make for a very good conversation today. Let me get my mom on real quick. See what she doing. Hey, beautiful.
Hello, hello, hello.
Really,
Good morning, all of you beautiful people. How is everybody?
like you about to go to a pageant. What's going
What was that?
on?
I got that from your baby, Lovey.
Oh, Levy. Well,
Yes.
yeah, that's about right.
It's a beautiful day in my neighborhood. It really is. It really is. The
It is
sun
gorgeous
shining.
outside.
I see a little breeze stirring. I can't wait to walk outside and feel it. Yeah, but it's a beautiful day. It was a wonderful weekend. I got to see my beautiful family. And
You did. We biked for about,
yes, the
I think it
I
was like
tell you,
5 miles. We biked 5 miles to my mom's
and my
house.
babies riding through
Only to
this.
have to stay outside because she's still in quarantine. They kept us outside, y'all. We biked all the way there. It was 5 miles. It was I haven't biked in a long time, so my body is like aching. I am in pain right now, but we gonna get through this show.
I'm
But
gonna
yeah, she
get me a
left us
bike.
outside for like 10 minutes. No water, no nothing.
That's one of my
Biked the
favorite
whole
activities. Bike
family.
riding. I love it.
It was fun though. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. The topic. Are you more worried about doing things right or doing the right things? I see my old sergeant lieutenant retiree on here. Um, I want to dig into this topic. I want to know what you think. You guys had some time to type your comments in while y'all were listening to that intro. But I want to know before I tell you what I think about me.
Yeah, you better hurry and get those comments in, you
When
guys.
I start talking, it's like, you know, don't
Where's my
nobody get
timer?
it. Don't nobody get it.
Oh wow.
But
But you know,
I want
on
to
the
know what y'all
humorous
think,
side,
or at least you, Mom. I want to know what you think.
no, you don't want to know what I think
Come on,
today.
teacher. I want to know
Because
what you
when
think.
I first, as I was prepping last evening and I was looking over the topic, and even this morning, I don't know why, but the song, If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right. I don't know why, but that song came in my head. Right, wrong, however.
This is a
Anyway,
daytime show. This is a daytime
yes,
show.
that's right. Let's get back on
Somebody
task,
get her.
Lala. Lala, let's get back on task.
Somebody get
Okay,
her.
well, when I was younger, Um, I was a perfectionist, and efficiency was therefore in the uppermost of my mind. Doing things right, doing right off the bat, first time, whatever. Um, but as I'm growing more seasoned, um, I am more prone to. Let's see. Let me make sure I read this right. worry. I don't worry about anything. Let's get that straight. I don't worry about anything. There are things I have concerns about. I don't worry. I practice that uh, this side of my life more so. But um, doing things, doing the right things, to me is at the top of the list now, because when you're doing, and this is really, if you don't look at it
Yeah,
correctly,
look at it again, because that's not what you
yeah,
told me this morning.
I'm dealing with that second part. The first part I told you was my earlier years as I was younger.
Okay.
Was would I rather be right, correct, efficient, or, or do I worry about doing things doing the right thing? I am more concerned these days in doing the right things, doing, making certain that those things that I am doing fit in with who I am. Okay. Um, Morally, spiritually, right. Okay. And when I do those things, um, morally, spiritually, right, then of course then I start to look at how I'm doing them, whether I'm doing those things to fit the times and my culture and things around me. Is it fitting in? And it's so my emphasis is more so on doing right things. Okay. Because if I do right things, chances are, and most times they are, I am looking to do the right, do it efficiently or do it correctly or do it right. Did that make sense?
If Peter would pick a peck of pick of peppers, that's what it seems like.
Okay, give
So
me some comments, you guys. Give me some
they
comments
not
because,
talking, so I'm gonna talk. That's what I get. It's my turn.
oh my goodness. See, you guys,
It's my turn. That's what
I
y'all
tried
get.
to tell you. I tried to
Look,
tell
they
you.
waiting for
So
me to talk anyway, so they can just break it all
I'm
apart.
going
That's
to
why they
just get my
laughing.
breakfast.
They
I'm going to just
laughing.
start on my breakfast.
They laughing because they waiting to pick everything I say apart. They waiting to hear what I'm gonna say. All right, so I take it back to when I used to, um, when I used to. Well, I'm not on the police department anymore, so let me use that one first. So when I was a police officer, um, the right thing to do, or what I was taught, um, doing things right. The thing that I was taught was, when somebody runs a stop sign, red light, you stop them, and typically they're going to get a ticket, because they broke a rule, and because we're sort of like, not micromanaged. It's left up to you to determine whether that person is going to get, a ticket or not. There's some things that are inevitable, like, where you got a warrant, you got to bring you in. But just speaking from a ticket standpoint, um, sometimes it was more effective if I, um, didn't go by, following a task that was given to me and doing it to the T the way it was taught to me. There were some times when, after, um, I would stop someone, I would determine in my mind before I got out the car whether they were going to get a ticket for the thing I stopped them with. That would be my guide to how the traffic stop was going to flow. So no matter what they said, um, minus, you know, a hit coming back, which usually I would, when I'm stopping them, I would have already ran it, and the hit would be coming back while I'm almost getting out the car. So when I walk up to the car, the hit would come back on the car, the vehicle they were driving. So the only thing that would be left to do was run their license. And so, provided that they didn't have any warrants or anything like that, car wasn't stolen. Whatever determination I made was what was going to be. So if I stopped them for running the stop sign, the question I would ask myself is, are you going to give them a ticket? And so I would answer my question and then get out of the car. Get out of the car, and I would do all the things that a police officer is supposed to do, and then approach the car. And no matter, aside from warrants or anything like that, no matter what their attitude was like, whatever my answer was before I stepped out of the car still stood. So that was my guide to how the traffic stop flowed. And to me, it was more effective than efficient. Efficient would have been license and registration, please. Take their license registration, come back. You ran a stop sign, and running the stop sign is illegal, and blah 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 blah, and then get them, write them the ticket. That would have been efficient. Would have came back with tickets. We didn't have a quota in DC, but we came back with a ticket. Would have served, I guess, what, I don't know if that would be considered justice, whatever, um, and go about my day. But for me, it was more effective to do the right thing based on the situation. So I would stop them. If it was a rolling stop, technically it's running the stop sign. But I'm like, today, like, you're gonna give this ticket. And then I'm like, no, I'm not gonna get a ticket. If I walked up to the car and it was another queen and she had an attitude because she don't like female cops and she in a hurry and I'm everything in the book, I had to put on my professional face and take off my personal face so that the answer to the question that I asked myself before getting out the car still stood. And to me, my reaction to her actions once I stepped up to the car proved to be more effective to me because it wasn't like a reactionary thing. I had already made up my mind what was going to happen, provided there were no warrants or anything. And when I did my stops like that, they went a lot smoother. They were safer. I was able to change the atmosphere. To me, I always say to people that was my ministry. I wasn't just a police officer. That was my ministry. So how I dealt with the person, and if it was a king, I would deal with them like I would want somebody to deal with my brothers. So how I dealt with somebody determined the effectiveness of that traffic stop. And without going into detail or going that deep with what's going on now, I believe that if police officers given that power that they have as a police officer, rather than looking at doing things the right way. For instance, I'm gonna go that deep because it's out there. So George Floyd doing things right. The little young gentleman that was standing guard while the other officer had Floyd restrained wrong, doing things right. You could, because I'm a police officer, and there's some street guys that can look at that and be like, yo, he's a rookie. Like he has not been on the department long. Like everything about him, when I watched the video, I picked apart because you could tell everything was by the book. Like I'm supposed to stand here. That's my trainer or he's my superior, and I'm not supposed to go against that. I'm supposed to stay here. And you could hear that even in his responses because they made no sense. Like he literally didn't even think about the effectiveness of what he was doing, rather than just being efficient. Like, I'm supposed to stay here, keep the crowd back, you know. Whatever I gotta do is say to keep this crowd back, I'm gonna do it. So if I say that's what drugs will do to you, even though that makes absolutely no freaking sense whatsoever, I'm gonna say it because the thing, doing things right would be, I am on crowd control to make sure nobody walks up on the police officer while he is restraining this man, whether he's doing it absolutely wrong and immoral or not. Being effective, because the job of a police officer is to protect and serve. Being effective would have been to also make sure that your partner, the person who showed up on the call with you, the person who rode to the call with you, was doing things morally correct. And so, to me, as an officer, that was the difference between doing things right and doing the right thing. And he missed the mark and stayed with doing things right. Because for every stretch of with every stretch of the imagination, what he was doing was what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to make sure the crowd stayed back. That's what he's supposed to do. And in doing that and not allowing his morals to dictate whether that situation was right, he wasn't effective because you failed protecting and serving. You failed that part. So that's my thing, police officers. Um, I also worked insurance, and working insurance, I was told, when you get on a call and you're talking to people, and they call in to make a insurance payment. I want you to also sell life insurance because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the numbers up. So I want you to sell life insurance. Just sell it to them. I'd rather do it and sell it to them than for them not to have it. That's the thing that you're supposed to say. I'd rather you have it and, make the sacrifice to get it and not need it than for me not to offer it to you and you would need it. For me, when I first started, I was like, okay. And then I started listening, doing active listening. And then I started dissecting the situation. If this person was calling in and they were trying to reinstate their policy, probably not a good idea to offer life insurance because they can't pay for their car insurance right now. If this is a person that every month they're late, they're not on time, it's probably more effective for me to assist them with trying to get their payments on time, trying to uncover what it is that may be stopping them from making the payment. Is it too much? So now if it's too much, then we need to work on the coverages that you have. Are they necessary? If you don't drive your car, I'm not going to have you, if you drive your car once a month, I'm not going to tell you that you need to up your insurance if you ain't going nowhere, just for the sake of $1 on my end or for my company. So morally, I'm like, yo, this don't make sense. Okay, let me look into some things, ma'am or sir, that would be more comparable to where you are. That's doing to me the right things. And that proves to be more effective because it sticks. If I'm just doing things right and doing it by the book because this is what I was taught and this is what I was instructed to do, then 9 times out of 10, this person, we're going to lose this insurance. One, because they can't afford it, or they're going to find something cheaper because they can't afford it and they're gone. If I can prove to my client that what they have is necessary and it's it's directly tied to their needs, then they stick. They don't go nowhere. Before they even think about going anywhere, they always call me. I have not been insurance in over 10 years and they still call me. Like they still like some of them have my cell phone number. They still call me. And I'm not even an insurance office. I'm not even an insurance agent anymore. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's being more effective when you do the right things versus sticking to the book trying to do everything right. Because doing that, it's been proven that what has been set in law isn't always the right thing to do. That's my piece. I see some paragraphs. So
Comments,
I'm
comments,
going to
comments.
see.
Benita, what's going
Meaty
on?
said, "You let go of all your prejudices." That's good. Yes, always did. Like I always, unless, like I said, unless it was a warrant situation, um, I I determined. I was like, "Yo, is this person getting a ticket today? Are they getting a ticket?" And that's what I would say to my fellow officers. Well, I'm not an officer anymore, but that's what I would say to other officers out here. Like you have to take off your personal face, because your personal face will get you fighting. And your personal face will get you wanting to punch somebody out because they didn't try to spit at you. Your personal face will be able to go toe to toe because this person done called you every name in the book. Your professional face and making sure that what you do is morally right will prove more effective. I'm sorry. I ain't been on for 50 years, but the time that I served as a police officer, every call I made or every call I went to was effective. Was effective. There were times when things had to become physical, but it wasn't based on a yo man he keep talking too much. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't based on that. It wasn't based on a you know I'm insecure, and because I got this gun and this badge, it gives me power, and so now I get to do what I didn't do or what I couldn't do when I was in high school when people were bullying me. It wasn't that. It was, yo, I'm out here to protect and serve. If you're speeding, you run the risk of running into somebody, hitting a pedestrian, and causing issues. So if I'm not giving a ticket, I'm giving that lesson. I'm talking, y'all know I talk, and that to me that was worse than a ticket. Like they would be like, "Oh, you right, officer." You know what I'm saying? Like it was worse than getting a ticket. They did not want to get stopped by officer at the time. I was Officer Logan. Officer Logan. They did not want to get stopped by Officer Logan because I'm telling you morally why you shouldn't do this thing and how this thing could affect this thing and this thing and this thing. And so to me, that proved more effective than just you know you stop them, like cops and robbers. You stop it, they get a ticket. You stop them, they get locked up. Um, Even down to my young kings, there were times when, based on the guidelines, they probably should have went in, but based on the situation, I'm like, look, look in your back seat. You got a 5-year-old son back there. If I take you, where's he gonna go? And if I take you for what I'm taking you for, what does this do to this generation that comes up when they think like this is the way of life, this is what you're supposed to do? Yo, throw that out. You know what I'm saying? It, like, to me, it was more effective at that moment than lock them up, call baby mom, call CPS. It was more effective depending on the situation for me. And like, I was protected in the street. I wasn't no GI Jane. I ain't go out there being no GI Jane. If you had to get on the ground, I explained to you why you got on the ground. And once we check this out, I am going. Look, if you ain't the one, I will help you up and dust you off. But I'm going to walk away from here. You're going to walk away from here. And all of these innocent bystanders are going to be safe. So if that means that I need you to get on the ground, I need you to comply and get on the ground until we check it out. Because let me tell you what came across my radio. What came across my radio is whether it's, now we're talking about African Americans, an African American guy with blue jeans and a white t shirt. If you don't want to be a part of that stereotype, change your get up. But I'm not treating you like you're a criminal. I'm making sure that we're all safe because I don't want to pull my weapon for no reason because I think you're about to do something to me. Because I think that you're about to harm somebody in the vicinity. I need you to comply because if you good, I'm good. We all good. You get to go. Holler at you later, King. See you tomorrow. You know, when I pass through this way, I wave at you. But if we all took the time to treat people like human beings, how we would want our brothers and our sisters and our moms and our dads to be treated if they were stopped by the police, if police did that, I believe things would go a lot different. But that's just me, and that's my thing, and I'm sticking to it. Let me go back to the comments. Um, Vanita said, "At first, I was more worried about doing things right because I was worried about what people would think. Pretty much all my life, I have been in situations where I have been the only black person among any given group of friends, be it high school, my friends at the Baltimore Ethical Society, and now my church. My struggle was how can I show my support for my people without being seen as suddenly militant. At the same time, I struggled to reconcile my beliefs and faith with my anger. Sis, that's where I'm at now. And that's why I will say um, I don't condone um, the violence that my brothers and sisters are displaying during this whole protest. I understand. I don't condone it, but I understand. And I was just watching a movie the other day with my husband, and the guy, it was a white guy. He was doing something and found out something and got pissed off. And when he got pissed, he was like, boom, and just knocked everything off the table. And I was like, yo, this is injected in our systems every time we turn on the TV. This is how we react. When you're angry, you're supposed to destroy things. Like that's how you express your anger, to get it out, to let it pass. Like you destroy things. And so it's not a shocker to me that there are people who are expressing their anger by that. And the only difference between they and I is self control. That's the only difference. Because I tell you, like, my mind, I've done a whole bunch of things. In my mind, I've done a whole bunch of things since this situation took place in my mind. The difference between me and that person that threw that rock through that glass is self control. Because it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm angry at the the business behind the window. It has everything to do with I'm angry and this rage is in me and I just have to get it out. It doesn't make sense, but I'm angry and I can't choke a police. So let me just express this and get it out. So it doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it morally right. And that's the difference between being effective in what you're doing. So I would, if I could, say anything to my kings and my queens, my brothers and my sisters out there. You want to be effective. Don't for a minute think that we don't understand, though. There are some of us who definitely understand, understand your motivation for what you're doing. But if you want to prove to be effective, then we must think, we must stop, take our self control, let it restrain us to the point where we're able to effectively think and strategize and then execute. Like we talking about being oppressed, there are successful black people in this world. Let's support them. If we feel like we're at the bottom, let's stop pulling each other down and push ourselves to the top because there are successful, intelligent, high ranking black folk in this country that have taken that whole building this country to like the next level. Like, not only am I building, not only have my forefathers built physically, like I am building this country economically, and I'm building an opportunity and a space for my African American brothers and sisters to thrive and be successful along with me. But they have to have the same mindset. Like, you can't just be like, this is mine, I got mine, you do what you do. If we as a people want to be effective, like, think about it. Like, we are, I posted something the other day, like, we are in every profession and doing it and doing it and doing it well. Like, if we were to take that same energy and push it towards helping our brothers and sisters get further and further to the top, because in order for us to keep pushing them, we got to go higher. Like, so it pays to support each other, because in order for me to push you to the top, I got to get high enough to keep pushing you. I can't stay at the bottom and push you. I can't reach. So I have to move with you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if we all had the mindset of like, how do we really get to them? Think about it. But you know what happens? We look at, I love Popeyes, man. They supporting Trump. Dang. Man, Popeyes, you make me sick, but I love Popeyes. I need Popeyes. We about to order Popeyes. We gonna go to somebody that don't look like us. We gonna go to their nail salon because, man, whatever. I know she do nails, but she don't do it like them. That's what we do. We see somebody actually making a change. Like, at this point, who cares what wasn't done? What you marching for? We marching because things weren't done and then things need to change, right? So then we have a mayor that says, just like, this is what I know to do right now, just to make a statement saying, I'm with you. So I paint the streets. And then we got our color, Queens. Man, whatever. Y'all can go ahead and big up Mayor Bowser if you want to. Like, when we start getting more money in education and da 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 da, like, when are we going to get to the point where we're like, she's doing the right thing? Like, at this point, I don't care what she didn't do. She's doing it now. It's a start. It's a start. And in order to start doing good when you weren't, you gotta start somewhere. And there's no right point to start. You know what I'm saying? If she started by painting the ground, let her paint the ground. Like, we doing more harm than good. It's like, you can't win. You can't win. And I'm going off on another tangent. These black folk, my brothers and my sisters, yeah, made me want to pull my locks out. Like, support. We have to learn how to support. That's doing the right things. That's doing things that are moral. Like, if things are changing, let's help the change. Let's not be a part of the problem. Let's help the change. Because, yes, doing things right would be, these are several things that needed to be done in Washington, D.C. So, Mayor Bowser, start on these. But if this right here was an icebreaker to say, we here and we got some things coming down the pipeline, let her write it. Let her paint it. Let people march it. Like, let's not destroy ourselves by being dumb, basically. Being ignorant. Um, I'm sorry, y'all. Vanita said, I had to spend a lot of time in prayer. Now my right thing is to put forth truth and the love of Christ, and not be distracted by Satan's shenanigans. I have to stay above it all. That's what's up. I would like to call you Johnny Castro, I tell you. You're amazing. Good morning, King. Um, I would absolutely
Um,
bless you.
I
Uh,
can jump in here, double dutch right now. I'm gonna jump in. Um, excuse me. I have this. I have many quotes that I've adopted over the years, but one that I hold dear to and true to is to thine own self be true. I believe, and I think someone said in their comments, I don't care what profession, it matters not what profession you're in, but whatever profession you're in, as whatever it is, to be true to who you are. Um, every profession uh, hire people, most of them anyway, based on efficiency first. Are you able to carry out the assignment, the job, the whatever the job entails? But being true to yourself says too that whatever the task is, whatever the job is, you are, depending on who you are. I am a woman of God. I'm a human being. And therefore, most jobs, unless you're a veterinarian or people who are dealing with animals, but you're still dealing with life. And because of who I am, I respect, other human beings. I look when I see other human beings, or even when I see a pet, I think about the pets that I've had. From my first pet way back when I was a kid till adulthood, and I've had pets. So you treat them with respect, and that's where being morally true comes in. So even though you are carrying out your job in an efficient manner, you're also dealing with people as human beings. And in doing so, you are asking yourself, I have a saying that I've been saying since the beginning of our broadcast, and that is have those mirror talks with yourself. Like Michael Jackson, a man in the mirror. I have those talks every day, every night, in terms where I look at myself. I ask God, my creator, if I pleased him, if I've done what I was supposed to do for this day to please him. And I know to please him, I have to uh, be morally correct. In other words, doing those things that I know my spiritual sense tell me they're it's okay, it's right. And I think what has happened in the world today, has been happening since the beginning of time, is people have lost sight of that moral aspect, that respect. And for the most part, most times it's because they've lost that respect for themselves.
Mm.
There's a saying,
Hurt people.
hurt others, and this is so true. Um, most times I've found in all of my experiences through life that, when people don't respect themselves or love themselves, chances are they will not respect others. As simple as that. And so with this, we have, and I'm a visual, so I'm like drawing a chart here. And if you see me looking down, looking sideward, I'm taking little notes and I'm drawing a chart here. It's like efficient versus effective,
Mm.
uh, right versus morally uh, in tune with life as you were created to be. And so for me, as I said, I started out being a perfectionist even as a child. My goal was to get it right and get it right the first time. Um, but as I grew older, as I matured, not only want to get it right, but more so, I want to be in tune with my true self, who I am. And being a woman of God, I, consult my dictionary, my encyclopedia, my book of reference, and that would be my Bible. And that is to make certain that I am treating people as I want to be treated, loving others as I want them to love me, and more importantly, as God loves me. So, here we have, you know, do you do this? Do you do that? I dare say this is where the situation gets really tacky, because we've got to, right now, if ever there was a time for us to mesh together these two things, efficiency and effectiveness, getting it right. And how do we get it right? We have to come together. That's where that moral part is coming in, that spiritual moral part, where we have to treat people, as human beings. And we got, without saying, because all of the media now is now addressing something that has been around since the beginning of time, since Cain and Abel. And that is, treating people as human beings. And we're now at a point, now what? The interesting thing is, during this pandemic, I mean, yes, we've been through some pandemics before. We've been through, global concerns before, but never like this. Never like this. And so the thing is, and people are doing things now that you've never seen them do before. People who are being nice. It's like there used to be a commercial with the cereal, Sugar Pops, I want to say, shot with sugar through and through. It's like first they come off all grumpy, and then they're shot with sugar and they eat the Sugar Pops, and all of a sudden they're nice and sweet and kind. This is where we are now with the pandemic, but the concern now is, now what? When this thing is, as it's passing over, and it will, the storm is passing over,
Yeah, it looks
as it's
like it.
passing over, now what? Are we going to go back to our old ways, or are we going to continue with where we are now, treating people as people? And yes, you have the outliers who are continuously not treating people as people. And so our job is, in order to bring about effective change.
Mm-hmm.
That's the second part of that uh, topic. What do we do? Well, for one, we have to sit down and talk and communicate, and don't assume that people know that it's morally wrong to treat another human being as lesser than that. Don't assume that. Don't assume they know that. So we've got to face off and talk, and this and I'm not for a whole lot of discussion. I'm just keeping it real.
Well,
That
let
was
me
one of
let me
my
ask you a question though. When you say that, when you say don't assume, are you speaking in terms of your everyday person, or
I'm speaking in terms of anybody. I never, see, when you assume things, is you break that word down, assume, as how do you mean? Never assume that people know what you know.
gosh.
Keep it real. Keep it real. My students from K through adults knew when they walked through my threshold, they knew, because I shared open book. And the same thing with parents, open book. Have no secret code. All you have to do is check in, get a little visitor's pass from the office, and I'm here. And of course, things have changed over the years because of the security factors and so forth. But my point is very simple. My point is very simple. Keep it real. Be to thine own self, be true. Where are we now? We have to talk. We have to communicate with each other. We have to put the cards on the table. It's no longer enough to say, I have some black friends or I have some white friends. Some of my best friends are white. That used to be a little statement back in the day. Some of my best friends are white. Some of my best friends are black. You know, or Asian or whatever. But the thing is, don't even assume that they are aware or knowledgeable of this race thing. This, you know, don't even assume that. Don't take for granted that people know that because my skin is a different hue from yours, the melanin is different. Don't take for granted that, oh, you know, I am privileged. I am privileged to do thus and so. You're not. I've had kids that say that when I was a kid. You you can't play because you're black or you're colored. I was colored back then. I've graduated since to black, African American. So the thing is, keep it real. That's my handle. Keep it real. Where are you? Where are you now? Do you go back to the way you were? Things are all hunky dory. Life is good. Life is sweet. Or do you, at this point, realize that in the twinkling of an eye, things could change? This pandemic, though it was, upon us before we knew it was upon us. Think about it, though. I mean, it could happen again. So, for me, myself, and I, what will I do as we are getting out of this pandemic, gradually transitioning? Okay, because it's not going to be the same. I can promise you that. It's not going to be the same. Life will not be the same.
Like, I don't think we could go back to a normal that we knew before,
No,
even if
we
we
can't.
wanted to. I mean,
No. Mm-mm.
it's pretty much dead and stinking. Like,
Absolutely.
it's
Um,
no way to go back to that.
who else is commenting? Vanita, I know Vanita's the only one, is not the only one that has some thoughts about this. Come on, you guys. I'm going to sick Lala
People,
on you again. You better come on now.
pick me. People really don't know. I've had several discussions with my white
Don't
friends.
be
They learn
scared.
from me, and I learn from them. And that's what you said. So I struggled because I wasn't in agreement with that when you were saying it. And because I think I was thinking more so from a police standpoint, because I know we did sensitivity training, and you know we like there's several. Well, I know MPD. There's several um, trainings that we've gone through in the department that would allow us to be more sensitive to people who don't look like us. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be others who weren't African American dealing with African Americans, or dealing with those with special needs or what have you. So, like, I struggle for a minute when you said that, because I'm like,
You,
I
you know,
assume, like, I looking like, yo, dog, you know that was not right. At the same time, I'm thinking as a whole of people who just treat people who don't look like them a different way, and that could be not just a black and white thing. It could be people who just don't have the same abilities that we do. Like, there are people, I've been in vicinities where people have treated those who have special needs different. And they
you-
could be their same color. It's just they have special needs, and they treat them different.
and I'm glad you mentioned that because that's where I am at this point. Treating people, sitting down and talking, pairing and sharing. Um, Keyword: sensitivity training. I believe that any job where you are dealing with other human beings, interacting, whatever, whether it's the DMV, whether, the Department of Motor Vehicles, where you're dealing with people, coming in, Social Security office, admin, schools, education. I don't care what the job is, what the profession is, what your ranking is. When you're dealing with people, I believe, Laviniology, that the key point here, and certainly what we're dealing with now, is consistent, keeping up with the times, sensitivity training. And that sensitivity training will include diversity, will
Yeah.
definitely include diversity. And that would include not only race, creed, or color, it would include your special needs people. What if, and this has always been a concern for me because I've had students who fit in all of these modes. What if a special needs student, say adolescent age, was out, was working on a job, and they did something that was not totally, you know, the way it was supposed to be done, or they wouldn't have to do anything. We know now that it wouldn't have to be anything. What if? What happens if they're stopped by a cop, a police officer?
Well,
And
we've
we've
had
had that to happen.
situations where there
That's
was a young
absolutely,
man that was actually killed, because
absolutely,
he was
and
autistic and nonverbal.
that's where I am at this point. That is the one thing, as since the beginning of time, since I've been an educator, and as certainly as a parent, as a professional, eh, it has been a big concern of mine. It fits in with the fact that lives matter, and certainly Black lives matter. Don't start me, because I'm from the heart of Confederate Virginia, and I know what it's like, even as a female, you know, growing up there, every stage of my life, dealing with being stopped, or being in the vehicle when my dad was stopped, uh, just because of the color of my skin. And certainly now we're thinking, my concern now is I'm an advocate for special needs people, and it concerns me, because every job, every profession, there needs to be a consistent um, sensitivity training. I don't see, and haven't seen for many years, that happening with your law enforcement, with your teachers,
Well, they
educators.
have they
With
so
they,
like
I
the
know
police
they have
officers,
it,
they have the training, and whether
but
people
but hear
are
what I'm
taking it
saying now.
serious.
I'm talking consistent training. Consistent. It would be as consistent, and uh as when you know how you have to renew your licenses
Hmm.
for different things. It would be like that.
But that's what I'm
It
saying. Like
has to be.
we've had, like, when I was on the police department, there were consistent in service trainings. You know what I'm saying?
I,
And
some
but I
a
think
lot of
that
professions say
I
that.
think that where people are right now, which they have to get out of that mindset, is what do I what can I do that takes the least amount of time and effort? And that's where they kind of like sway that way, versus because
Shortcut.
being moral takes work. It takes restraint. When you talk about self control, that's being able to control and hold back
It
something,
takes
a force
having
that
a
wants to be
heart.
like, "Argh," you know what I'm saying? Like,
It
it takes
takes
work.
having a heart. It
But
takes having a sensitivity
but even beyond that, it still
for
takes
people.
control. We are emotional
That is
beings.
all a part of that sensitivity training. And I know in many occupations, um, And that's where I see the breakdown, because I used to, and it was a long time before I realized um, that even though people have the trainings for various jobs, that over time people kind of get laxed,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I know part of my life story that I don't talk about a lot is, I spent part of my adult life in law enforcement when I lived in Minnesota. And I happened to work with a partner
And she
who was
back
very zealous.
became a cop.
Was very, she was the crawl on your belly, slide down the escalator type, and she almost lost her job. In fact, I'm not so certain if she did or not, because I know she was transferred, so I never saw her after a certain incident. But the thing of it, and I've seen this even in the educational profession, and I've had to, part of my time where I was in a position to train teachers, new teachers, in many cases, even older teachers. And I saw that as very necessary, because over time, everybody does not go into a profession with the passion for that profession.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't have the passion that Lahla-Hadiya had for police work. Everybody doesn't have the passion that uh, Mama Lou Lavinia have for education. And I've had to pull a lot of teachers, young and old, in the profession aside, and remember them of when they were in school. Okay. And so I've seen that lack of sensitivity even in the education profession. And I've had, in my uh being who I am, I talk with them as I talk with my students, in term, not dummy it down, but talking to them on their level, to ha- to allow them the opportunity to revisit. And most times when I had new teachers, the first thing I asked them is this what you choose to do? Is this a passion for you? Do you want to be a teacher? And when they hesitate, I say, you know what? First of all, the money is not going to do it for you. I'm telling you straight up. So if you don't have the heart for educating people, then I suggest you find another occupation. You know, this is not a rich quick job, by no means. It's not a get rich period. So, and going back to what I'm saying, the sensitivity, I think that's a key factor. And a key factor, I listened to a group of ministers and pastors and bishops and all these other fancy dancy titles on yesterday. And I so appreciate it. I even called my son. I was like, hey, you know, you have some extra time. Suggest I really um, would encourage you to watch this, because here you have these ministers, one African American and the rest were white. And I love the fact that he just kept it real. He won my heart right there. Keep it real. Were you always, because most of these ministers, most of these pastors and bishops and things, they, they're talking all the right stuff. You know what I'm saying? They're out in the vineyard. They're out in the mission field. They're doing those things that you want to hear. But the African American bishop asked the question, were you always this way? Or were you influenced by something? Was there something that allowed you to recognize and realize that people are people, no matter what the color and creed and all of that? And I thought that was very interesting. Again, in summary, which I'll summarize many times, that's where we are at this point. We have to, all of these people who are allegedly in positions to lead others, it is quite necessary, it's imperative that we have these talks. I love the fact that in Michigan, the police officers, and there was a few other places where they walked with the protesters, talking to them all the while. That was one of the things, that was one of my key strategies in being successful in teaching in the, whether I was in the classroom or training teachers. That was one of the things I took pride in. And I would always tell my students, my audience, I need to get inside your head. I need to know who you are. You need to know who I am. So a big part of the first getting to know you was just that. And don't stop there. Continuously keep the door open for people that you are leading. Keep the door open for them to ask questions, you to ask questions, them to to respond. And that's what's needed. It's needed, and that's where we are at this point in time in our history, in this country, and globally. We have to fix it by not just sitting down talking about it, but doing about it. With my mic,
You doing
drop the mic. I'm done.
I took the mic a long time ago. You just kept talking.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just as passionate. I am very
I
passionate.
hear you though. I mean, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I'm very passionate when it comes to people. I'm about the walk and not necessarily just the talk.
So I know we've come to the end of the hour, but I do want to acknowledge this. So Vanita was saying, I think you guys are talking about two different groups of people. Mama, I think you're talking about employers versus, I think La is talking more about people. And so she goes, so I'm overwhelmed because from your point of view, La, how do we reach the people and raise their consciousness to a level where they maintain control and funnel the anger into positive action for change? How do we get right knowledge to the masses?
Can I correct that before you start? My thing is, and I said this, and go back and re-listen to it. It's about people, not just employees. I springboarded from what La had started talking about with her police profession, but I said we're talking in dealing with human beings. In dealing with human beings, we have to learn to treat people as human beings,
Okay,
not
these
as
two.
because once upon a time we were treated as what 1/5. We were treated as animals,
Mm.
black folk, and so the thing is to have that moral connection in terms of relating to people.
Okay, so in that regard, then her question is, so then even if we're on the same page at that point, her question is, and we're talking about people in general and not employers, particular
Absolutely.
professions, then how um, how is it that how do we go about reaching the masses? Like how do we go about
I and I
in this
said that as well.
sensitivity? Well, you were
There's
so when you said it,
absolutely
you were talking about different sensitivity trainings, but we're talking about if we're talking about people in general, then it's not, you know, um, it's not so much of, when you get to your job, let's just hope your job has in place the sensitivity training. It's how, with people, just people in general, people that you see every day.
again,
Like, how do
again.
we, let me finish. Hold on, wait a minute. How do we go about injecting that moral standard or that moral teaching to those that we just see every day is what I think her question is. How do we go about doing that so that we can reach the masses? Um,
I, I ended up talking about this panel of from the religious standpoint,
mhm.
people who are on the mission field, who are dealing with people, and that's where what we're supposed to be as people of God, dealing with people. It's not a job. We're not getting paid for it,
Mm-mm.
but this
I
is
think you're
something
misunderstanding.
that we do because it's morally right. Okay. And that's where I'm coming. And I said, I am one who believes in keeping it real. I prefaced everything I said with no matter what the profession is, the job, whether you're a parent, whether you're a neighborhood association, whatever. And you may think of it as a job. Some people do, even though they're not getting paid for it. But the point is, and I said, the disconnect is the sensitivity. I use sensitivity training, but I started out with, and I hold to this, I hold fast to this, that until people develop that sensitivity to one another, the same thing that many are doing now during a crisis, during, let's see, say the real hot and heavy time of this pandemic. You know, people are panicking, people are scared, people are all kinds of emotions going on, and they're coming down and recognizing, because they're put in a position where people are, have been sequestered in their homes. So after this blows over, then what? Sensitive,
Okay,
being
so
sensitive
hold
to
on.
one another.
So I think that's, let me reword it. I think that's what she's trying to say. So for a person, and let me put some hearts up, Vanita, if I'm hitting it. So her question is, for a person who wants to be instrumental in spreading moral or morality across the masses of people that they may not be at a job or have a profession that has sensitivity training, or they may not be working. If I am a person that wants to be a part of the solution and I want to help in spreading morality across the masses, how do I go about doing that?
Okay, let me speak from my standpoint. I am not on a 9 to 5. I don't punch a clock. I, this side of my life, I am being the person that I was originally created to be. Okay. What am I doing? And I mentioned this last week. What am I doing to make things better? I am reaching out. I'm connecting. By reaching out, I am connecting with people. I am promoting um, the idea, the spiritual idea of being my brother's keeper. And that includes my sister as well. So, what I am doing, what any person who's not on a 9 to 5 can do, as far as sensitivity training, you might call it whatever. You can call it whatever you want. But the idea is to be more sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
A committee of one, me, myself, and I don't wait for someone to tell me. I am, through my connection with different groups, I'm a part of many groups. And even being retired, I'm a part of different groups. So as I am interacting with those groups, I, me, I am planting those seeds. I'm planting those seeds. And I allow God to do the nourishing. See, because that's all we have to do is plant the seeds. That's all. Through faith, I am planting seeds with these various groups. And already in the different groups, I'm a part of a pastor's wives group. I'm a part of a sassy jury group. I'm a part of a life group. I'm a part of my church. I'm a part of, different, my family groups. So, and I just more recently was asked to be a part of a prayer group, a family prayer group, you know. And so in my connection with those various groups, What am I doing? I am planting those seeds by sharing just some of the things and more with what I've shared here. I'm using my platform to inform people, to create that dialogue with people, to share, like I said, I never go into a situation assuming that people know what they're supposed to know. So I plant those seeds. That's all I can do. That's all you can do. That's all anybody can do, is make yourself a committee of one to share that part of the sensitivity of whatever the situation is. I'm hoping, and I'm hoping that I kind of,
I think you did.
I hope so, because
I
it's a passion for me.
did she, Vanita, throw me some hearts? Did she?
Mhm.
Did. Um. So okay. So with that question, then you have to understand. There are people who, if you are a moral person, there are other people out here who have morals. They're out here, and you can't certainly um, infect the whole entire world by yourself. What you can do is infect those people that are surrounded by you that have groups that you're not in, where they go in and inject that same type of moral standard. Where there are groups that there are people in that group who have other groups that they're connected to that they're not in. So that's how it spreads. When you I think you're thinking in terms of like I want to change the world. You know what I'm saying? And when people think I want to change the world, they think that they just fly around like Superman and they be the one dropping the more bombs. And it's just not so. How that happens is like exactly, Antoine, you leave your footprint. When you're a part of a situation, when you go into a store, there are times when I've gone to a store and we're in line and they're complaining about, why is taking so long, and oh my gosh, they only have one register. And instead of jumping on the bandwagon, saying, I know, right, man, you know, um, it's more about what, it may be a part, like, a lot of times when I come in here as young people, so, they may have graduated and then they going off to college. Some of these people just, they come here, to make a little bit of money to make, get through the rest of high school, and now, they're all getting ready to go to college. So they're probably trying to, hire more people or, get them trained or whatever. Do you really want a trainee? Because you be complaining about a trainee because they be taking a long time or they don't, do what you're normally used to. So, it's being effective where you are. And if you're effective, then that person will grab hold to what you have put out and they'll go somewhere and be effective. And so on and so on and so on. So eventually, love and not hate will spread and saturate the world. Because, it's just like the coronavirus. Think about it. It's like the coronavirus. So we're putting on these masks, we're staying indoors so that we don't infect each other. But if we all walked around with no mask and we're going in the stores, we're touching things and we're not conscious about those things, then before you know it, just being around somebody, they could have picked up the disease from you and they go and they infect somebody else. That's how we want to be effective in spreading morality. You know what I'm saying? You want to be able to, let somebody soak that up from you and then they go and, do the same thing. That's basically where she's getting.
Amen.
Um, but so, tying this all back together, because we're like 15 minutes over. We always be doing this. Um, yes, right. I'm about to go back to the topic, Dwan. You late. We was
Who is
waiting for your
that?
comment earlier. So Dwan
Who?
says, going back to the topic, wondering how we are defining right. That many have been miseducated and institutionalized. So that's what we were talking about earlier. So being more worried about doing things right versus doing the right things. Like doing things right, um, basically, is defined by, you're given a task, you're given how to do it, and you do that. You complete that task by following those instructions, which leads to less time wasted, um, and productivity. Uh, doing things, or doing the right things rather, is and which is how we got on this topic, is more of a moral standard. Um, and understanding, yes, everybody isn't taught the same thing as far as what morals are, which, if you really think about it, morals, like you're doing right by others. Morals, like, to me, I can't discuss morals without discussing, you know um what God tells me to do, or what He has instructed us to do, and instructed us to be as humans, and children of God. You know what I'm saying? I can't really discuss morals without that, without discussing love, and loving your neighbor as you would love yourself. Like, those are the attachments of morals to me. So, when you think in terms of doing the right things, then you think in terms of, um, you know, um, how is this going to affect someone else's life? Is it going to affect their life in a positive manner? Is it going to be a part of the solution rather than the problem? That's how I look at, doing the right things versus doing things right. And understanding that, people have been taught, things wrong for the longest time, and they just slap on the title of this is the right thing to do. Um, Understanding that, being more effective in your job by inserting morality into it. This may be the rule for a principal to do this or do that, but, is this effective? Is this going to change the culture of my school? Because I am, sensitive to, the needs, the emotions, and, the reactions from what I do of others. That's, to me, doing the right thing. So, but Lala, sellout black folks feel like they are doing right by actually hurting our people. And so we talked about that too, like, being effective. Like, to me, and I'll wrap this up real quick. Like, the difference between, doing things right and doing the right thing is a matter of efficiency versus effectiveness. You know what I'm saying? People are out here doing dumb things. Our culture, our people, they're out here doing dumb things. And even with this whole situation that has taken place, and people out there rioting, and, just destroying properties and destroying businesses, like, you have to stop and think at a point, like, is this effective? Yes, it's making a statement. You can make a statement and sound dumb. You know what I'm saying? So, is your statement effective? Is what you're saying effective? And is it, geared towards the solution versus continuing the problem? Because I can break a window and bust the door down and steal merchandise, and we still are being looked at as savages and still being hunted down like dogs. You know what I'm saying? Or I can now say, hey, look, let me start supporting my black businesses. Let me start building the capital of our black businesses. Let us start, creating our own banks. Like I said earlier, like, and y'all gonna get me started and you can get me all hyped up again. But, like, we are in every profession and doing it well. We're successful, so being effective to me, if we just talking in terms of black people, being effective to me is not getting a group of us and saying, yo, let's go break this glass because we mad. Because after the glass is broken, we still mad. You know what I'm saying? So let me go and build up this business. Let me put my money in this black business. And let me exercise and put more of my energy in the training in this business so that you guys are effective, and not just me throwing my money in a black business because you black, but me throwing my money in a black business that's doing it and doing it absolutely well. You know what I'm saying? Let me make sure that we are educated. Let's push our children to get education so that they know what they are doing. They don't just have out here willy nilly having in these businesses. Oh, I run my own business, but you some junk, you some garbage, and I don't want to support you. You know what I'm saying? Let's push our children to get more educated. Let's push them to get more experience. Let's push them, to get more knowledge so that when they go out here and do what it is that they were called to do, they're effective. And so we can pour back into that effectiveness. And like, yo, at this point, like, we run the world. You know what I'm saying? And we run the world not because we destroying the world, but we run the world because, like, yo, we everywhere, and y'all need us. Y'all coming into our stores. Y'all coming into our banks. Y'all coming into our businesses. You know what I'm saying? That's being effective. That's how you input that into those people who, like, yo, let's break down. Let's write on the wall. After you write on the wall, then what? F you, Trump. What then? What? You know what I'm saying? I'm about change. I'm about change. I'm about, like, yo, if we want to see change, we have to be the change we want to see and be smart about it. You know what I'm saying? We have to start teaching people how to be wise and not ignorant, because ignorance gets us nowhere. It goes back. We go backwards, and then we start destroying each other. Wisdom says, I'm not going to raise my hand to my brother. Yo, I'm going to help you, because helping you means I succeed. If you really think about it, if you're thinking about wisdom, helping you means I succeed, because helping you, if you're using wisdom, you're like, yo, I'm going to give back. I'm not just being successful to run away. I'm gonna give back because I want my brother to succeed, so we can play Monopoly in this camp. You know what I'm saying? And we own all the buildings. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. So in order to do that, I gotta put something on people's mind. This is one of the reasons why I even created this show. It's like, yo, I'm so tired of us walking in stupidity. I'm so tired of us walking in ignorance. Like, I need people to start thinking. Like, these little simple adages that we use, these little sayings that we use, we say them and we don't even think about it. We don't even dig deep enough to uncover it and figure out what it means. A simple phrase: are you worried about doing things right or doing the right things? That simple phrase alone, that simple sentence alone, like, can mean so many different things, right? To people.
That's a game changer right there. Right there, that's a game changer. And for the people who are wanting and still needing to know, what can you do? It starts with yourself. To thine own self be true. Cast down your nets where you are, and use what you have. Each of us was born, even before concept. We came here with a purpose, and a God-given purpose, and use what you've been given to the fullest. You don't have to try to do what somebody next, your neighbor, is doing, or what the person over there is doing. Do what you do based on what you have, based on your gift. That's where I am at this point.
And
you know
understanding that you're
um
gonna have to
is
walk alone.
using your gift.
Understand that you're not always gonna be favored. Not to understand that the group ain't always gonna like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm, for one, I love being different. Like, if you don't like me, I know I'm doing it. I know I'm doing the daggone thing. Like, if I got
No,
more haters, I know I'm doing the daggone thing. So, like, you gotta be comfortable in being uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be
and
comfortable in being uncomfortable.
that's when the change is taking place, when you are taking yourself, when you've taken yourself out of your comfort zone. Too many of us are staying in our, oh, I'm comfortable with this. I don't want to go outside the circle because, I'm afraid. I'm fearful of what may happen. I'm fearful that I won't be right. Okay. Be who you are. Use what you have. And oftentimes change comes in when you have made yourself uncomfortable.
Right. It's just
So
like we talked about earlier about going to Popeyes. Now, people don't like Trump, right? You think he whack, and he's destroying our country bit by bit, right? So then you got people who support Trump, who supporting the campaign of him trying to run again, right? But we like Popeyes. But we like Wendy's. But we like Chick-fil-A because no matter what Chick-fil-A give us, we know that it's the best for us. You know what I'm saying? Like we like those things and we don't want to give them up because we're comfortable. Like being uncomfortable means like no, we not eating Chick-fil-A no more. We not supporting Popeyes no more. So if y'all want fried chicken, we gonna fried chicken here. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go to Giant. I'm gonna go to another store that's not supporting the stupidity, and we gonna fry chicken. You know what I'm saying? Like it's learning how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. But the problem that we face is that we want change, but we don't want to be changed. We want change,
And
but we don't want to be changed.
we need to leave out
And
on
then we gotta leave it
that.
alone. Cause Dwan, you got me started again. It's all your fault.
You
Cause
be
like it's 9 o'clock.
the radical of change.
It's nine
There you
o'clock. We've
are.
been going at this for an
Cast
hour and a
down your
half.
net. And somebody said that some great African American said that. And on next show, I'll probably tell you who it was. But cast down your nets from where
We
you
gotta
are,
go. We gotta go.
and be the catalyst for change.
Yeah.
You be the
Yeah, man.
catalyst for change. I'm not afraid. Even at my age, at 70 years, I am not afraid. There's a song coming on too. I am not afraid of being that catalyst for change. And I do what I do. I don't look for a crowd to sanction it. I step out on faith. And what am I doing? I'm doing it. I'm doing every day. I am stepping out of my comfort zone, and I am, connecting with people and sharing the little that I have to make life a better place to be in. I am totally right now. I'm definitely going to drop the mic because we are
You see
way
me
over.
holding my mouth? I got it's self control. I gotta hold my mouth. I gotta hold my mouth. So we gotta go. Dwan, I love
Yeah,
you,
we gotta
man.
go, gotta go.
We got look,
I
inbox
love you,
us.
baby
So
girl.
look, I'm Lala. You know I love you, right? Y'all know my mama love you. Most importantly, God loves you too. We gotta
Yes,
go. We have got to go.
yeah.
I don't even want part two to this, man. I don't. I don't. I don't. Y'all too much.
Oh
Y'all
my
wait
goodness.
for y'all wait to the middle, and then y'all want to be going at it.
Y'all gonna make me go
Y'all want
back
to go all the way
out
in.
and
So look. I have taken the mic, unplugged it, and everything. So we gotta go. See you guys tomorrow, 7:30. Yeah, listen to this back. That's all I can say. Or whatever. You got
love
questions or
you,
whatever?
love you.
Inbox us, email us or whatever, and we could chat it up. This my kids. Well, last week was my kids' last week, so I could talk and work at the same time. So like y'all inbox me. I'm gonna leave it at that. All right. Love y'all. It's your girl, Neo
Love
Soul
you.
Recording Artist, wrapping up another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. It's all good. Y'all be great. Y'all be awesome and be in purpose and not just on purpose. And we will see y'all
Amen.
tomorrow. Holla at your girl. Mighty, classy, beautiful.